Now, talking of inventiveness, there's a church that's brought in wrestling to try to just think about faith differently. The Wrestling Church is in Bradford. Sounds a bit like this. And here's one of the members of the church talking about why she loves it.
When I first started going to the training sessions, obviously I was thinking, like, how do I fit? How do I, fit in here? And Gaz has tried his very best to make me feel like I'm one of the team. It raises my spirits. I come out of there feeling spiritually nourished, but I feel great about myself. And it brings out that creative side of me that makes me feel alive.
But how on earth does this make people feel more religious? The Wrestling Church is a place where people gather to worship as well as to wrestle. There are baptisms as well as body slams. We're trying to get our heads around it. We're going to talk to, you mentioned Gaza there, we're going to talk to Gaza himself, Gareth Thompson, the founder of the Wrestling Church, in a moment. But we would love your thoughts on whether church can be changed around a bit, made a bit more relevant like this. Maybe there's a church near you that does something very unusual and you think this is good. Or maybe you say, no, we need pews and stained glass windows and a bit of time to think and pray. And you've got to do it traditional. Text us 88291, email vine@bbc.co.uk. OK. Let's talk to Gareth Thompson. Be looking forward to this, Gareth, founder of GT Ministries. It's called the Wrestling Church in Bradford.
Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. Thanks for having me on. I'm a big fan of yours, so this is a great chance to have a chat with you about something that I absolutely love, Wrestling Church.
Oh, well, I mean, that's very disarming, and I'm flattered. Thank you. So, well, church we understand, or we think we do, but wrestling as part of church is tricky.
Well, I think when you look at the Bible and you look at what we go through in our life journey and our faith journey as Christians, we spend a lot of our time grappling with stuff. We wrestle through things. And so being able to take some of those classic Bible stories like David and Goliath and Cain and Abel and to play them out in a theatrical, dramatic, live spectacle like pro wrestling just gives us a different take on it and gives us a different way to engage with the exact same gospel message that we do in a normal Sunday service.
Tell us about your story, Gareth, and how you came to faith.
So, my childhood was really rough. I grew up in a council estate. My dad left when I was a kid. My mum struggled with drink. I was sexually abused as a child, homeless at 15, lived in a skip. Went through a failed marriage, ended up in debt and unemployed, and that's kind of where the church and the community of people involved in church came alongside me and introduced me to the faith aspect of stuff. And from then, I've just gone from strength to strength and seen my relationship with Jesus just grow and deepen. And now my story is helping others find that for themselves.
Is it fair to say that if you've been through these terrible events you describe in your own life, you probably have a bit of anger in there, and it's good to get it out in a healthy way?
Well, I can say that wrestling is very cathartic, yeah. It is a great way to do that. But for me, wrestling is so much more than violence. It's pantomime. It's theatre. It's live theatre. And when people look at it through that lens, you can really see how being able to tell stories and storytelling and characters really plays into the strength of being able to turn that into something that reflects the Bible and reflects real life. We don't just touch on Bible stories. We touch on themes like forgiveness, themes like racism, themes like violence towards women. Like we can turn this into anything that we want. It's kind of like drama at school. And we're able to kind of turn it and make it engaging in a different way.
So does the wrestling then illustrate the Bible stories?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So the way that we do it is, when you arrive, there'll be some live worship. We have a live band. Linda Maslin, who's the vicar at Fountains Church Bradford, who, massive kudos to her for kind of allowing this to happen. She's all on board with it. She'll then kind of set up the show, like what we're going to be talking about, what are the matches going to be involved. And then we have a few fights. And then one of the fights the main fight will really thread into the theme. So we did two wrestlers chained together and they couldn't escape the chain and they had to kind of fight each other and they could use the chain. We then tied that into a message on, well, what chains us down in our lives? Like what holds us back from our full potential and being the best person that we can be? So we kind of used the match to illustrate the point. then threaded that out of the Bible and then brought it back to the gospel message of what Jesus can do to break chains in our lives. And so
I love it.
when you kind of see it like that, you can see how it all works together.
I'm thinking of a church I go to a bit in Devon, I better not say which one, and the average age of the parishioners is about 70. And I would just worry if they started wrestling that you'd need the St. John ambulance quite close by. That's all.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone.
It's not, no. I think for the actual in-ring stuff, we have a training school, so people are trained up to be able to do that if they want to do that physically. Like Emma, you mentioned earlier, you know, she has some health conditions, so physically, there's no way she's stepping between the ropes to fight. But she does kind of, you know, she introduces some of the wrestlers, she does some backstage stuff, and kind of looks at like the social media aspect of things. So there are roles that people can play that aren't physical, but primarily the team that we use for the shows, they're all professionally trained athletes and kind of trained up to a decent standard to be able to do that. But mostly when you look at the people who are attending, like we've got everyone. We've got young kids, we've got old ladies front row with handbags that you used to see in the world of sport. We've got families, we've got, you know, the homeless coming in from the meals that we give them on a Saturday night. Like we have got a grand spectrum of people all there supporting, cheering, getting involved and just having a great night while going away with something to think about.
Thank you so much, Gareth Thompson, founder of GT Ministries, and it is the Wrestling Church in Bradford. This is what it sounds like. Jeremy Vine here, talking about it's impossible to disagree with the lovely man who we just had on, Gareth Thompson, who is running this church. It's located, if you're in Bradford, you want to know where. Fountains Church is the sort of host church, and his church is called the Wrestling Church. And basically, people go along and wrestle, and then they have Bible stories and all that. Graham is in Charleston and says our local church had a pet blessing this Sunday. So, and it was for bring your pet along and it could be blessed. And maybe, you know, if you get sneak in alongside your dog, you might accidentally get blessed yourself. Spike is in Dudley and says, this is a brilliant idea. Anything that fosters community these days should be welcomed by everyone religious. Our local Rev certainly approves. As I say, it's nice to do a story where I don't see there's anything you can really be cross about. People getting together and wrestling. I mean, it's not naked or anything. Mark Carter near Wakefield emails, my character's name is Old School MC2. I am a wrestler. Oh, brilliant. I do commentary for wrestling shows. The Wrestle Church is such a brilliant idea. Combining the Bible stories with wrestling as a way to teach the ways of God and Jesus Christ. There we are.